Hello, YouTube. We are back again today, and today I would like to delve into adult narcissistic relationships. If you grew up in a household with one, two narcissistic parents, maybe narcissistic siblings, is you're more apt to get into narcissistic relationships as an adult. And first off, I want to say it's not you. You may, oh, why do I keep choosing these people? Is not you. Um, my favorite thing is just, you know what? We crave chaos when it's what's familiar. And if you've ever found yourself in a relationship that maybe was seemingly good and healthy, and you're just sitting there like waiting for the other shoe to drop, um, honestly, the piece is kind of unnerving. You're waiting for something to happen. That's what you're used to. Peace and healthy relationships, it seems off because it is not in your vocabulary. It is not something that you had modeled for you when you were growing up. It was not something that was encouraged. You might have been put down or shamed if you stood up to a narcissistic or abusive family member, and that carries into adulthood. I'm gonna share my experience in this. So I've only had two long-term relationships, like what I would count as like serious relationships. My first starting at 21, and obviously, if you've watched my channel so far, you kind of know about like my history, my family history. And this dude I had met on, I think, Meet Me, which it used to be my yearbook. Anyways, um talking to him, I think the for one thing, love bombing is always at the forefront. I was talking to this dude, and within the second day, he was saying I love you and talking about living together. And of course, having the upbringing I did, no one paid me any attention. And if they did, they were abusing me. So then, you're kind of course, looking for that love as an adult. And then you just kind of put the rose colored glasses on and you think, okay, this is great. We have so much chemistry. Where have you been all my life? Kind of shit. And we are moved in together within 2 weeks. Um, he lived like an hour away from me, but he's telling me how abusive his mom is. Oh, excuse me. Ugh. Which I ended up living with both of them, so I can attest to that. But so me being the fixer, the people pleaser, the emotional monitor for my whole family, I'm like, oh, I gotta save him. He moved in with me, and within 2 months, maybe less, um, like it changed drastically. I remember an incident. My mom was heavy drinking, and at that time, I really did not. But he would ask me to go up and get alcohol from my mom for him. And if I'd be like, no, dude, like I'm sick of asking her, like you go up and fucking ask her, he would like lay on the floor or on the bed in the fetal position and ignore me, like full on silent treatment. Would you know what I'm saying? Just ignore the fuck out of me until I inevitably couldn't stand it and would go up and do it or do whatever, he was pouting about. That it's so they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. And like I had that shit as a child, my mom was very fond of the silent treatment when she didn't get her way, and it's unnerving, especially as a child. It's very uncomfortable because they're withdrawing any type of interaction, they're withdrawing love and affection, etc., because everything's conditional. So once, you give them what they want, then they're fine. Okay, yeah, that manipulative. Um, by month 4, he had already cheated on me with his ex-girlfriend, which was funny because he had swore up and down, his ex was crazy and she cheated on him and blah blah blah. Um, yeah, obviously that kind of blew up because, not everyone can have every ex that's crazy. It's not always somebody else. You know what I'm saying? If you are dating a narcissistic person or getting to know someone that you suspect is, or even if you don't, pay attention. If they're talking about like friends, family members they don't talk to anymore, exes, and it's everybody else, it's always, they were a horrible person. They did this, they were to blame, blah, blah, blah. And there's never an instance where that person is at fault for anything. Yeah, kind of a red flag there. And like along the line after that, of course, being cheated on, triggered, fears of abandonment, self hate, shame, guilt, like somehow it was my fault. Um, and the first thing in my head was the fact that I had gained a little bit of weight. Like, I thought I was in a happy relationship. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is, I gained weight. So I started starving myself again, thinking that if I was skinnier, he was going to care more. No, it just fucking, for one thing, it made him realize that he could bully me into doing stuff, and then I just kind of destroy myself. Um, then we had moved out to his mother's house because he had, regardless of how my mother is and the fact we're no contact now, at that point we had like a semi good relationship, and he alienated that to try and benefit himself, and it blew up in our face. So of course it's, oh yeah, let's go live with my mom. She was worse than him. We paid $600 a month to rent out her basement. Like, it was partially refinished, but it wasn't being used anyway. And paying that much, we'd get bitched at for using too much water, washing laundry, electricity. Um, we had to pay her for groceries, but she only bought what the fuck she wanted. Why don't we buy our own groceries then? Nope, that's not allowed. Yeah, exactly. What does that make you think? Constantly trying to pin me and him against each other, or, I'm saying, him pin me against his mother, and girl, I'm like, what the fuck? So, I'm trying to fucking like settle both sides and be the referee for everyone. So, like, his mom's like bitching and freaking out because he'd steal money out of her purse all the time. And it's like, keep in mind, this is an adult that is doing this. Like, stealing money from your mother for weed. And, then I'd have to pay her back, or I'd have to pay the money to these people that he was fronting weed from. I'd have to calm his mom down when she was a fucking being a lunatic for whatever fucking reason, threatening to kick us out every fucking day, even though she was paid for us to live there. She had, in the basement, it was kind of like to where like the front yard and the side was like normal, and then as you went to the back of the house it sloped way down. So we had like a normal size like door on the back of the basement to where we could walk out into the backyard. And she would get drunk and pissed off for whatever reason, pissed off at him, whatever the fuck was going through her mind, and she would lock us down there. um like, so we had no access to like go upstairs and get any of the fucking food that we paid for. We had a shower and stuff downstairs, We had a fridge with shit to drink, but she'd lock us from going up fucking stairs. Um, oh girl, like, I was walking 2 miles one way to a bus stop every day to ride the bus to work, come home on the bus and walk 2 miles back. And he would, like, every other week would quit a job. He'd work for maybe 4 days straight and then start calling off and get fired. Whatever money he did had, weed was the first priority. Like, not saving for a car, not trying to save for our own place. Um, using things against me, like when he did buy something, like, okay, you know, I smoked cigarettes at that time, as did he. And like, we were pretty fucking broke to the point that we were like cleaning out cigarette butts to like get enough tobacco together to like roll a cigarette that we would share. And I think we had just both gotten paid, or he did, or whatever. And he had bought a pack of cigarettes, like some Marlboros. That was like a fucking treat. And I'd been like, hey, like, can I have one to myself? Like, whatever, we just got paid. And it threw it in my face that he bought it, and all this other motherfucking shit, how they like to do. Because, you can smoke full cigarettes and whatnot, but then mine I have to ration. Okay. Um, and a big turning point in that relationship to where I knew something was really off. Deep down, it felt off, but in my mind, I thought he still loved me or loved me at all. Um, there was an argument about something. He upset the fuck out of me. Um, and I went outside bawling, and I just laid on the fucking ground. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to do. I don't know what the hell is going on. And just laying on the ground, fucking sobbing. And he walks right past me and walks to his friend's house to go hang out and play Dungeons and Dragons. Oh god. Like there's so many ways that that mirrored my upbringing, and especially his mother. That was extremely re-traumatizing. She wasn't necessarily physically abusive to either of us, but constant screaming. She'd come home from work and we'd be downstairs, and it's like, okay, she's stomping through the house, slamming cupboard doors. We knew that within a couple of minutes she'd open up our door and start screaming about some nonsense, walking on eggshells. And then I had him as well. So it was kind of almost similar to like my dad and my one sister. They're both narcissistic. Him and his mother were more so verbally abusive, but so it was very familiar. And it's like, okay, like I feel like shit. I feel like I want to fucking rip my hair out. But it's like, okay, like I know how to navigate this. You just fought, you people please all the way. You try and keep the peace, even if you're not the one that started the upheaval. And then, just lose every semblance of yourself in the process. Um, bringing up fucking the fact that he cheated on me later on. And it's like, why can't you let this go? That wasn't even cheating, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I can't let it go because you just pretty much said, like, hey, deal with it. It happened. And I'm saying it's not cheating, so it's not. Just complete invalidation, minimization of how I felt, and then would do things to kind of make me suspicious, like trying to get a rise out of me. It got to the point to where the silent treatment was more than that. It was straight up like the after his mom's, we moved in with his friends, and his entire friend group was shun me. Like if me and him got in an argument, he of course would go and tell his friends, his side, largely embellished. Probably, okay, he didn't do anything wrong. I'm just a fucking bitch, right? And So then I would go get home from work or go out in the living room to like try and hang out with them. And, they'd be like, oh, like smirking, sneering, like, oh, okay, whatever. We don't like you, bitch. Or fucking, the more I stood up to him and it got really irritating because it's like, you know what? I'm fucking miserable as it is, so I might as well fucking rock the boat because what other choice do I have? And like he would withdraw affection, like he would weaponize intimacy against me. Um, everyone that we lived with, he would try and turn against me because that was his friends. You know what I'm saying? Like they're gonna pick his side over me no matter what. So I was always in the wrong to everyone there. Like if I would do anything, if I would challenge him or try and bring something up, lots of projection, lots of deflection, like, hey, what you did today, like, really upset me and hurt my feelings. And it's, oh, well, you do that to me all the time, or you did this last month, just, okay, well, we were talking about this, but now then we're arguing about something that happened a couple of months ago. Um, just then, with the withdrawing affection, he would, okay, like, hey, like, you're always playing video games with your friends, you're always with your friends, like, we're both off today, like, can we just relax in bed and watch a movie together? And it was always, oh, well, you can come out and hang out with us. Like, no, I wanted to be with my partner, like, I wanted to have us time. Like, he put he made me he made me know very, very clearly that I was not important enough to him. And of course, what do? Internalize, self blame. Um, that, I was just a terrible partner. When in reality, I'm fighting for fucking survival. And, like, honestly, like, that was the only um narcissistic emotional relate like intimate relationship I had been in terms of like having people that weren't family. And it's heartbreaking when it's your family, but it's a different kind. Like, you're used to it. It's your only template for a family dynamic. And then going into an intimate relationship and trying to go into it with so much hope and thinking, oh, this is going to be better. Not everyone's like my family. And then it's 2 years in and you're like, what the fuck? Like, how did we go from, where have you been all my life to I can't even stand to talk to you? Like, I would literally, we had a queen size bed, and I tell you, I would sleep on the edge. Like, if I were to sneeze, I would have fell off. Like, I couldn't stand to be around him. But then, you know what I'm saying? I got to the point to where I would just, yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. And I quit caring in a way about a lot of stuff. And eventually, like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, like I can't take it anymore. How many nights I would walk around and this was like not the greatest area, walking around 3, 4 in the morning, like bawling my eyes out, like just walking around the city. I couldn't stand who I was around, like his family or his friends, especially him. And like this obviously going to be not a one size fits all thing. I don't recommend it, but like the way I am, which, in my opinion is kind of the only way you should be, is cheating. I don't care if it's flirting, if it's messaging, whatever it is. Cheating is the intent in my book. Um, and you know what I'm saying? If you don't want to be with someone, fine, but don't destroy them by cheating on them. And that was done to me, and he didn't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? He made me feel like I was wrong for having a reaction about it. So I cheated on him about shit. That was 2 days before I left him. I had came back to like my hometown to see a couple of friends and spent the night, and I boned a dude in the car in her driveway. And I knew that if I were to go that drastic, I wouldn't be able to stay with him. Like, I personally would not have been able to like do whatever, you know what I'm saying? So I had to do something absolutely asinine and off the wall to jolt myself awake into fucking leaving. I wasn't living. Like, I was eating maybe twice a week. I wasn't sleeping. I was depressed. I was at in 2 years I forgot how to live by myself. I forgot how to do anything without him, and I was completely dependent on him for emotional support, even though I got none. Um, you know what I'm saying? He was almost like my, my anxiety medicine, but yet he he made it worse. So it's like okay, there's a placebo study. I think I got the placebo, but I keep taking more, thinking it's gonna work. Um, so I did that. I'm saying I had to do something fucked up to where, I'm not gonna then be able to like be with him. Something to kind of jolt me into leaving. And I got home a day later, and then within 12 hours after that, like, I'm walking around town. I had called my mother, who at that time we hadn't spoken for like 8 months. And I'm like, you know what? This gonna suck too, but I gotta get out of here. And I was moved out. And then of course it was what do you call it? It was cries and upset and whatever. And then I moved out, and I'm getting messages from him and whatever. And I'm sitting there. He convinced me that it was the wrong decision, that it was all me, whatever. So, of course, I'm groveling and oh, blah, blah, blah. So it was almost like I was taking a class. Like, I had to sit there and suck up to him and do all this shit for him to maybe be able to, have the pleasure of getting back with him. He conned me out of money after that and just led me along. Still, we're 70 miles away from each other, and he was still able to affect me, still abusing me from a distance. And then when I finally cut him off, like, it was sporadic, he would find ways to try and contact me again. What did I do? About a year after we broke up, I was living where I'm living now, all settled, like taking care of myself just fine. And I ended up going out there and hooking up with him. And I thought, like, okay, like maybe we could be friends with benefits or something. Um, and then like the usual, we fucked, and it was all about him. You know what I'm saying? Just no care in the world for, finish yourself. And we're getting in the shower afterward, and he says, out of nowhere, I know you missed me more than I missed you. That was my closure. That was my closure, that he was just as arrogant and fucked up than I suspected and deep down knew. You know what I'm saying? It was always about controlling me. And it was months, maybe, maybe about 2 years, like months of being like hysterically upset. And then about 2 years, I want to say, till like I didn't cry at the thought of him. Like I thought this was, my knight in shining armor, and it took a lot more in therapy to realize that, he wasn't a knight in shining armor. He was the enemy, and he was about to stab me in the fucking back, and he was gonna keep stabbing me until I took myself out of that situation. Stab me and then blame me for bleeding. That definitely put fear into me, though, is getting into relationships after that to where I actually got too hasty on the judgments. I'd be like, red flag, okay, that's a red flag. Okay, no, bye. You know what I'm saying? Like, not realizing that, everyone has red flags. Everyone has little things that might pop up that might seem, sus or off to other people when you don't really know them. But it's about the pattern of behavior. You know what I'm saying? Is it like, okay, they make like stupid kind of dicky jokes here and there? Or are they like systematically like an asshole and trying to fuck with you? Like, there's a difference. And it really scared me away from relationships for a long time. And it's like I could not stand to be alone. I could not stand myself. I could not stand my own company. I was drinking excessively. I was working 80, 90 hours a week when I did not have to, just to stay busy. And so I wouldn't have to, be by myself. And, met the lovely man I'm with today. And even in the beginning of our relationship, like, I was not in the moment for the first probably month or two because I was just scanning the environment. I'm trying to figure, okay, what does he really want from me? Wait, was there like a subliminal message in that? Wait, is he trying to pick at me? Like, you know what I'm saying? I was so terrified of being abused again, let alone being abused in my own house that I fucking pay for. Ain't no motherfucker. No. Um, But again, that was not his pattern of behavior. Yeah, of course, there's like little tiffs here and there, maybe an argument. We do shit to piss each other off. We're human. Everybody pisses everyone off at one time or another. But if it's not a pattern, if you're not being gaslit, manipulated, physically, mentally, or sexually abused, like you have to use your discernment. Okay, is this out of character for them? If you bring something up, are you validated? Are you noticed? And is there some type of action to try and resolve it or change behavior? It's a lot. And I feel like it's like growing up with narcissistic abuse and it's like learning to drive, but you're blind. Yeah, okay, everything can work fine, but if you can't see the road, you're going to make it 50 feet and go in a ditch. Like, it's almost like, that handicapped head start once you hit adulthood and start trying to navigate adult relationships. And, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, maybe if I fucking drive the car blind, but then I have another blind person in the car trying to give me directions, maybe it'll work better this time. And it doesn't. And a lot of times people get themselves, not purposely, it's not our fault, but will find themselves in relationships that either match what they grew up with or a lot of times worse. Um, Luckily in that fact, I was not physically abused, but I will say the gaslighting alone, which gaslighting is not lying, is systematically dismantling your sense of self. You doubt yourself, making you doubt your perception of reality, making you doubt your feelings and not trust your feelings. And it can only be done by someone you trust. And that's what they prey upon, the fact that you trust them. And gaslighting the first, however long, it might be like, I don't remember it that way, but whatever you say. But then months, years go by. you hear something enough, you're gonna believe it. So then, like, I found myself like, even after childhood, so I'm used to the gaslighting thing. I'm sitting there like, maybe I am the problem. Like, maybe if I wouldn't have brought this up, like, we'd be fine. Like, maybe I need to quit talking about my feelings because that seems like all our arguments start with that. And no, narcissistic motherfucker who's abusive, immature, entitled, OG, a narcissist, full of himself, and just absolutely a disgrace as a partner. You know what I'm saying? Just absolutely. Then this motherfucker gets into a relationship after me, right? Because when we had hooked up a year after breaking up, he had told me, like, oh, I was in a relationship with this girl. She was mean to me. She threw shit at me and called me names and shit. And it's like, oh yeah, but I was so mean, right? Like, I cleaned up after you. I cooked after you. I worked and paid for your motherfucking weed when you couldn't be bothered to fucking do anything. Like, this motherfucker about ready to get fired from his job at 7-Eleven. And it's my birthday. I get home and he was working second shift. I was working first. So I get home at 3 p.m. and he's still fucking home playing video games. And I'm like, what are you doing? It was my birthday. Oh, like I called off for your birthday. I'm like, dude, I worked on my birthday. Like, what do you mean you called off for my birthday? No, you called off because you don't want to fucking do shit. And, in a way, I was enabling it. No, it was not my fault. But, I was covering for him with everything. So he didn't have to do shit. And shit like that got more frequent. It's like, nah, it was just an excuse because the entitlement was so real that, okay, he found another person that would kind of baby him in a way and that he could manipulate into submission to where I would put up with shit and I'd still keep paying for shit for him. I'd just write off how I felt. No matter how disgusting I felt, no matter how alone I felt, I would just cry myself to sleep. I would wish that I wouldn't wake up or that I'd get fucking hit by a goddamn bus on my way to work. And like I said, it took me a couple of years to even really begin to fully grasp what went on. And that also was helped by me working more and more into my childhood and what I went through, connecting the dots, seeing the similarities, seeing why I was, what's the word? I was kind of like predisposed to like get into an abusive relationship in adulthood because what was modeled to me when I was younger. But yeah, that is my story with a narcissistic relationship in adulthood. And I will see you guys back for the next video.